Good morning. This is Frankly Tarot. This is my channel. Welcome to my channel. We talk about tarot. We talk about tarot cards, tarot reading. Today, I want to talk about owning and using multiple decks, a collection of decks. It starts with just one deck, a Rider-Waite of some sort usually. Oh, right there, right, the Fool. Then it goes from there. 2 decks, 3 decks. Then there's the year everyone gives you a deck for your birthday with a weird deck they found when cleaning out their grandmother's attic. And the next thing you know, you have a dozen decks or 20. And now it's a tarot collection. But in my view, you only have too many decks when you have tarot decks that you don't love. I think I have about 9 decks at the moment, maybe 10. And right now, for me, that's 1 or 2 too many. I'm probably going to pass actually this deck, the Radiant Waite, along. I like it, but I think I want the Centennial. I want one of those softer decks. Now, when I was reading for other people more often, I would sometimes choose the deck depending on the question or what they wanted to talk about. So if we were talking about something on the darker side of things, then I might dig out the Wild Unknown, which I love, one of my favorites. Anything about children or family matters, I like to use the Tarot of the Master, just this. It's kind of an old-fashioned rendition, but I find the images very, almost whimsical, or the style is very whimsical, and the colors are distinct but still soft. It's a pip deck, but I feel like there's still a lot. There's a lot in here, even though there aren't full-out scenes. So I would use the Tarot of the Master for something, children or family matters. Don't you go anywhere. Otherwise, I'm mostly using a wider weight, usually my universal. This is not my universal, of course. Now, I do have decks I don't really like to read with for whatever reason. The medieval Scapini is a good example of that. It's called medieval Scapini, but it's modern. I think it was put out in the 80s. And so I find it kind of hard to look at, but I keep it around for other reasons, which we're going to go into. And that reason is because I found that when I was first learning and having trouble understanding or really learning a card, I found it helpful to kind of compare the same card from different decks. For instance, the Star. I did have a hard time. I had a hard time really understanding the Star, partly because I felt like Temperance was so close in meaning and style and image. So I was at the time reading mainly with the Rider-Waite. There's the Rider-Waite Star. And so I pulled out my the Scapini Star, and I compared the two of them. They have a lot in common, but the thing I took from this was looking at their expressions. The Scapini, the woman there, she's not really paying attention. She almost looks bored and irritated, while the Rider-Waite Star is concentrating deeply. So I'm looking at these two and I'm thinking, that's what it is, mindfulness. That's what I took from my particular study of these two, or that's what I took to compare. When I compared these two, the star became for me a card of mindfulness, of paying good and proper attention to whatever you're doing. Get off the phone and drive, sort of thing. So let's look at the star from, or the stelle, since it's Italian, from the tarot of the Master. We'll compare the three of them. So right away, I see that in the Rider-Waite, she's pouring water into the pond here and onto the ground here. But here, she's pouring both vessels, both pitchers of water into the pond. And she also has both feet on the ground, while this one has a foot kind of resting on the water and the other one on the ground. The Scapini also has both feet on the ground. So to me, this adds another layer of meaning, which could say, stay grounded. In fact, I think if the star showed up reversed, I might interpret it as a need to stay grounded and aware of your surroundings. Don't get too lost in whatever is going on in your mind, whatever you're really paying attention to. So that is one good way to use, even if you're not able to read with a deck that you have, it's still good for study, for learning, gaining more understanding of the card, any given card that you're working with from the deck you do actually work with. The other thing you could try, and I did this for a while, is to mix and match your cards to create your perfect deck. It won't be perfect, of course, because it's pretty likely that the cards will be a mishmash of sizes and stock. I mean, these are all different sizes. This is wider. And the stock is pretty similar. But let's look at the Queen of Wands. I have right over here. Queen of Wands. They're all pretty different from the decks I have here. I've got the Tarot of the Master. We've got good old Rider-Waite. We've got the Scapini, medieval Scapini, and my Morgan Greer from the tin. You see that yet? Which means they're a little smaller. Now, the Tarot of the Master has keywords on it, which is not something I like in a deck. I'm thinking this deck might benefit from being trimmed. I don't know why not. But the key word, as you can see, is innocence. And it's in 5 languages, so very nice. But I don't really associate the Queen of Wands with innocence, or any queen. The queen is, in my mind, someone with some experience behind her. So I don't really like this for a Queen of Wands. And the Rider-Waite Queen seems very dour and staid, very stern. It's too stuck on that chair. Now the Queen in the Morgan Greer, the wands are called rods. She's a little bit more active and on the move. She's very summery and determined, and that works for me. That works a little bit better. So maybe I would replace the Queen. We'll see. But now let's look at the Scapini Queen. She is a sex pot. She's curvaceous. Her clothing is a little suggestive. That's quite a wand she's holding. But best of all is her toes are painted bright red. I love that detail. even though I don't read with this deck, I think this is my favorite Queen of Wands. I feel like she epitomizes a sexual and independent woman who makes her life her own. So now I can start to put together my ideal deck. I've got my Scapini Queen of Wands, my star from the Master, the Tarot of the Master. I like the Eight of Pentacles from the Morgan Greer deck. I kind of like how that we can see his work. It's similar to the Rider Waite, but he just seems like he's more, it's a little bit more, I like the up closeness of it, and I like how, you know, we can really see the chisel hit the pentacle. And I, of course, love the flowing locks and the 70s mustache. So, all right, let's put that in. I'll replace this. I'll replace the Eight of Pentacles with the one from the Morgan Greer. So, kind of a hard to shuffle mishmash, right? Because here's my partial deck, but here's the main deck, and then we've replaced a few cards with these, and they're all different sizes, widths. This is tiny, this is huge, this is in between. This is actually not too far from the size of the, a little bit wider, but not much. And so now if I want to read with this, I'm gonna have to I guess up my hand over hand shuffling game, right? Because, well, I better up my game here because I don't want them to fall out every time you try to shuffle. But if I get good at this, it will work, and then I could potentially have a deck whose meanings all and images all match my intuition and what I've learned and taken from reading the cards, reading books, listening and talking to other people, etc. It'd be funny if you kind of like just like, here's your reading. Oops, she came out upside down. So that is one of the beauties of having a deck collection, is using them together. There is a fellow on YouTube, a tarot reader who I run into every now and again, and he's just got his deck stacked up, and he's throwing cards down, he's shuffling, hand over hand, hand over hand. Here's a card. Then he pulls out, we'll read it, and he pulls out, shuffles some more, pulls out a card from another deck and reads that. I love that approach, and I might even borrow it sometime because, because a single deck is so chock full of meaning and layers of understanding, and then you combine them all together, and you can have a really rich tarot experience from using multiple decks. I just want to reiterate, because tarot decks can get expensive and take up a lot of room. If you want to read the tarot, you need a deck of cards. And in fact, if you were just starting out, I would suggest just getting a deck of cards and, working with them and studying and really getting to know a good one deck really well. And I also would suggest going with a Rider Waite or a Rider Waite clone, like the Morgan Greer, I think the Palladini. There are a lot out there. What I do not suggest is going with something like the Tarot of the Master, which is just a pip deck. Not just a pip deck, but a pip deck, as opposed to, oh, that's handy. No, that's just a, 5, 6, and 7. So this is a pip deck versus a Rider Waite deck or clone. This has a scene on it, and this is just a picture of 7 bastoni or wands or rods or whatever. So that's what I would suggest. But really, in order to read the tarot, you only need a deck of cards, ultimately. But they do seem to multiply seemingly on their own. So when you find yourself with multiple decks, even if you are having trouble reading with your given deck, you can definitely put them to good use and learn to love them. I think that's it for today. I don't have a reading to do. Like, as always, however, please contact me either in the comments or on the community discussion tab. If you want a free reading, we'll do that on the channel. So this is Frankly Tarot. I hope you have a wonderful day. I think I will. And let's do this again soon. Bye.